So anyway, back to the college football season. It was kind of weird that we played 8 or whatever NFL playoff games and then circled back to the college game. I thought that was weird.
Yeah, the college game,
it felt.
If there's one thing they can do, I don't care. There's lots of tweaks, but it would be nice if it wrapped up a little sooner, and then you weren't running into the NFL. It
felt strange.
It was a little weird. I've always thought Monday night is weird, but it's been on Monday night forever. I just don't think it's hard to follow the NFL, and when you have these gaps, if there's one thing college football should do is just kind of push everything up and try to be done either on New Year's or the week after New Year's and finish the thing up. We don't need these big gaps, and that'll take care of some of the whining and moaning about the long layoff. You don't need several weeks in order to do this.
Well, there ended up being one upset out of all of the college football playoff games.
Yeah, just the one, huh?
One.
Yeah. Well, it goes to show you. I mean,
you know which one that is?
Arizona State, right?
They didn't win.
They didn't win a game?
No. They got a bye.
They got a bye.
Oh, they got a bye. Yeah, now I'm trying to think of who
0-1 in the playoffs. Kenny Dillingham. Ofer.
I'm trying to think of who would... Oh, Notre Dame, Georgia.
Yeah. That was the one upset.
Yeah.
And the favorites were also 9-2 against the spread.
Yeah.
So if you were just going chalk all the way, you made some money.
Well, they've always said that the least parity in any sport is college football.
No question.
But at the same time, some of those games were nip and tuck.
Well, one of them was.
Well, I mean, say what you will. Boise State, Penn State. Boise State was going in to make that a 3-point game when you had the penalty, and then it got away from Ohio State. But that was not a blowout. Georgia Notre Dame certainly wasn't a blowout till the end. That was a close game. What else did we have? Texas and Arizona State was fourth and 13, and Arizona State wins that game. Texas and Ohio State, as you mentioned. Texas is driving down with 2 minutes to go, and then you had the strip sack. So, while some of those games certainly lacked the coming down to the wire, I can't say that those games were uninteresting. I can't say that those games were a foregone conclusion.
No. I just think that the theme of, the least parity, as they expand this tournament, and they're going to expand it again.
Oh, yeah.
You can have another round.
Sure.
Or at least more teams playing in that first round. Mm-hmm. The more games you get, the more it's just late season, banged up, attrition, colder weather. The better, the teams with the better players, even if they don't have the elite coach, they're going to win.
Probably.
And if you just blindly bet that, just this year, as Buck said, you're 9-2 against the spread.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that trend will continue. Even it doesn't mean there aren't good games. Doesn't mean there aren't upsets. It doesn't mean anything should change. It's just the way it is.
I do enjoy, though, that with the transfer portal now, I do think you have some stuff that's spread out a little bit. Every team is going to suffer attrition. You no longer stack up 4- and 5-star kids that are just sitting there. Injuries do become a bigger deal. You have to reload your roster every year. So, yeah, I mean... Ohio State won, and Ohio State had the most talented roster, but I some of the SEC's dominance slipping away. The fact that you saw, Penn State get about as close as you can get to this. The fact that Notre Dame beat Georgia. And I know for a Notre Dame fan, I don't know if that gives you any sort of solace because, I mean, Notre Dame has been here over the last 30 years. It's not like Notre Dame has been irrelevant, but when Notre Dame has played these sorts of games, they get embarrassed. I mean, they get drilled. And they beat Georgia 23-10. And I know you got embarrassed by Ohio State early, but you ended up accounting for yourself very well in that national title game. And I don't know if we could have said that 5 or even 4 or 5 years ago before NIL and before the portal. So I do think that as we get into this, look, you're always going to have Ohio State. You're always going to have the Georgias, the Bamas, the Oregon that they can pay their way into this. But I do think that you are going to see some watering down of it just being the same 3 or 4 teams. I do believe that.
Well, I would think maybe what you're saying is like there is a case to be made for everything falling right for a Ole Miss.
Yes.
1 year.
Yes.
Or Oregon even.
Yeah.
Oregon almost had that this year. I mean, Oregon does not, as good as they have been, They do not have quite the level of players as the Texases and the Ohio State.
No.
But this one year, because of the portal and the elite quarterback, you and some guys that stuck around, you had that kind of crescendo team.
Yep.
And of course, you
ran into a buzzsaw.
You did, but that you had that, and there is that. You couldn't have that before.
No, and if
so
Oregon,
Lane Kiffin, for example, next year, I don't think this happens even in Indiana. Like, you saw Indiana try to do it.
That's too big.
But they aren't winning a championship. They just had a really nice year through the portal.
Yeah.
But so there's still an elite level of team that is only capable of doing this. But like an Ole Miss, I think is one that's not a traditional power. But with Kiffin, if everything falls right, you get the right quarterback, you get the right spots on your roster filled with the portal, and then some young freshmen that pop or whatever, or some guys that stick around, you can win one.
Well, how about this?
Out of nowhere.
Like, how about Penn State, right? Penn State, both of their backs are coming back. Warren's gone. Aller's coming back. This is one, let's say even this year, right? Ty Warren came back, your two backs came back, Aller popped a little bit, right? What if Penn State, Jeremiah Smith, who ends up going to Ohio State, I think he was a Florida kid, and I think he was flirting with Florida State, and Ohio State managed to pull him away, right? If you take Jeremiah Smith and you put him with Penn State could win a national title this year, like this year, right? Like one or two.
You mean this upcoming year?
No. This last year.
This last season. But now they're losing too many guys.
And now they're losing too many guys. But you said this is 2 years in a row now with Michigan and Ohio State that you have had 5 or 6 kids stick around that should have gone to the NFL that came back to say, no, we're going to give this one more crack. And yes, Ohio State and Michigan are definitely teams that can do that. But, teams like Penn State, teams like Notre Dame, you mentioned Ole Miss, absolutely Ole Miss, a team like that. Tennessee, right? Some teams that do have the wherewithal to do this. Maybe SMU could fall into this category with the right amount of guys coming back and adding 1 or 2 pieces, like with Judkins and Caleb Downs coming into Ohio State, and then you land a hammer freshman like Jeremiah Smith, and next thing you know, like you said, for 1 year, I don't know if Michigan will ever get back, but that squad that they put together, that's a really special unit, and so I do think that opens itself up in this playoff format to those sorts of teams, and you can even stub your toe a couple times over the course of the year and still be there because, as I said, under the old system, this Ohio State team that no one can argue is not the best team in college football wouldn't have even been allowed to play for a chance to win a national championship. So I just think the playoff system is so much better than anything we've had. Is it perfect? No. Is it going to continue better? Yes. And do I think it opens up more possibilities than there used to be? Absolutely.
All right, well, that's it for college football. Season's over. Now we wait till August.
And Oregon supposedly, did you see any of the All-American game? Is it they call him Dak, but it's like
Ja'Cory Moore.
Ja'Cory Moore. Some of the plays that dude was making in that All-American game.
Insane stuff.
He's the number 1 non-quarterback, I guess, recruit in the country. He's a wide receiver. And like people are saying, like that's the sort of kid, and then the Trey McNutt, the safety that was an Ohio State kid, like that's the 1 or 2 guys that if you get, that can take a good team to great. That sort of gravitational player. So just something to keep an eye on because
start the hype train.
Ohio
baby.
State doesn't get here without that true freshman on the outside for them.
Probably our last Lee Corso, don't you think?
I would hope so.
Think it's over?
Please.
Any way we see him ever again?
I hope not. And I hope he enjoys it. He's earned it. Enjoy your retirement and just go hang out with Lou Holtz.
He's worse than Biden up there.
It's bad. It's really bad.
Rest in peace.
I'm
going to do a preemptive.
It's not dead yet.
Yeah, it'll be soon.
Oh, I guarantee ESPN already has the obituary.
We're going to have to see Herb Street cry again.
Well,
that guy.
I understand why he cried and he explained it, but he
is so insufferable all of a sudden. Well, where did that come from? He's always been Mr.
He used to be like Mr. College football.
Yeah.
Now
Hey, can we stop with his kids play? They don't play. His kids
play what?
No,
I don't even know this narrative. What's this?
His kid was, he made it like his kid was on Ohio State. No, he wasn't.
One of his kids walked on, right? And then had a heart issue?
Every one of his kids has walked on.
But his youngest is
and
at
then
Michigan
transferred
now.
to Ohio State, and one walked on. And,
what? Herbstreit has a kid at Michigan?
Yeah.
He just committed to Michigan. I think he's a quarterback, isn't he?
All of his kids are walk-ons, and then we have to make a big deal about how it's, no, dude, you just.
Like poor man's Bronny James stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
We need a new Herbstreit. Who's our new Herbstreit?
I don't know, but it's he's a lot. But his wife's battling cancer. His kid was having heart problems. His dog died, so he said it all came out.
Greg McElroy, maybe?
Yeah,
is he our new
McElroy.
Herbstreit?
Yeah.
He's a little too vanilla.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Herbstreit
so
is
was
too.
Herbstreit.
It's just hard. It's just hard, and I understand why you cried and you're an emotional guy, but it's hard to stand up there and say that you're impartial and then you're in tears because the team won the national championship.